Within our world are creatures we cannot hope to comprehend. Science refuses to recognize them as fact, but Hollywood sees this as an easy cash grab. Now, join these three men as they venture into these attempts at success. You will witness the good, the bad, and the strange as you are now venturing into Cryptic Collectors.
Welcome back to Cryptic Collectors, where we talk about the repercussions of complimenting women. More specifically, those women that brandish a pair of giant shears and wear a Glasgow smile that even the Joker might find hot. My name is SippyVA, and joining me today are...
Ace Marrok.
And I am William. Don't ask if I'm pretty. I know it, Kearney.
I'll be the judge of that one.
How dare you? Also, guest starring my dogs because they don't know how to shut up.
They're asking if they're pretty too.
They're not.
All right, so if you guys haven't told from Sippy's introduction, today we are going to be going straight to Japan with one of Japan's most interesting and most well-known urban legends, the Slit Mouthed Woman. And today we'll be discussing the film adaptation, Card. So, to start us off, Sippy, since you are the expert, at least in my opinion, on Japanese urban legends and yokai, why don't you give the nice people here a little introduction on the Slit Mouthed Woman herself?
Okay, well, I'll try to live up to your expectations. So, basically, the Slit Mouthed Woman is a yokai, but also falls under the category of an onryo, which is the Japanese term for a vengeful spirit. And there is a lot of myths and origins that revolve around her, such as being the wife of a samurai who was pretty promiscuous during his time out of the house. And then when his jealous husband comes in and catches his wife in the act, he slits her mouth from ear to ear and declares that nobody would ever find her pretty after this. And thus, it gives her a motivation to come back as a vengeful spirit, wielding a pair of giant garden shears or scissors, whichever one you prefer, or whichever legend that you
I'm so confused at how the samurai story leads to her getting scissors and wearing a trench coat, which is very modern.
I mean, I guess that really...
That's really more of like when it started becoming big in the 1970s.
Exactly.
Or just a katana was just hard for her to use, so she just got scissors, which is far easier in comparison.
Now, here's the thing. Just like Teke Teke, this version of the Slit Mouthed Woman could also be a woman that was killed by an oncoming train, and the resulting impact actually slit her mouth ear to ear.
Yeah. The major difference is Teke Teke never had any porn made of her, and I thank God for that.
Yet. That hasn't happened yet.
How? She has no legs. And she's scary as shit.
Well, here's the thing. We can talk about her at a different time. Right now, what we're talking about is this young lady or middle-aged woman. It doesn't matter. But
depending who tells the story.
Yeah. Or perhaps maybe you find that attractive. Who knows? Ladies in trench coats.
I do.
We know you do.
Yeah, of course you do.
Stop judging me. Joke's on you, I'm into that. Joke's on you, I'm into that.
Kink shaming is my kink.
I get off on making fun of you.
Anyways, before we get off track.
Yes.
So the whole gist of the Slit Mouthed Woman is you're walking home late at night, whether you're a child or an adult, doesn't matter. You are approached by this one beautiful young woman. She's wearing a trench coat and she has a face mask that's covering her whole mouth ear to ear. And
then she says 6 feet, 6 feet.
And then she asked the question, Watashi wa kirei? Or am I
Do you have
pretty?
COVID?
William, I will slap the shit out of you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go on.
Okay, and she will ask, "Watashi wa kirei?" or "Am I pretty?" And if you respond yes, then she will remove her mask, showing you her Glasgow smile in all its glory, bloodied from ear to ear, possibly with sharp teeth, depending on interpretation. And she will ask, "How about now?" And one of two things will happen depending on your choices, and both are not good. First, if you say no, which is probably the most reasonable response, she will cut you in half with those giant ass shears. However, if you say yes, then she will take her shears and cut your mouth ear to ear to look just like her.
There's also a third option.
Therefore, the third option, the best way to counter this is to say, yeah, you're average, or
6
just
out of
try
10.
to change. Yeah, just.
And her reaction will be, "You sassy bitch."
Yeah. Actually, my favorite response is, "Joke's on you, I'm into that jizz."
We know you are.
Of course you are.
And then she goes, "Ew," and leaves, and that just hurts my feelings.
But you can also change the subject to throw her off course. Like, if you ever seen that one episode from Constantine, was it?
Yeah,
Yep.
It was Constantine.
Yeah, this
was
one
a
guy
great
just kept
show.
changing the subject, but she kept persisting in like, "Am I pretty?"
Am I pretty? Am I pretty? No. Well, fine
I
then.
don't know. Is the sky blue? But here's another way how to escape her. You can run, but she will catch up to you. Therefore, you have to have a bunch of candy on hand. Like,
Which I always do, thankfully.
so you
Of
just
course.
toss it over your shoulder, and she has to pick it up.
Now, that I always
Enjoy the Red Hots.
Now, that I always found very interesting, because that really feels like a nod to the Jiangxi, aka Chinese vampires, where if you drop a thing of rice, they have to collect each grain in order to satiate their strange OCD, if you will.
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare.
I know one is a classic. They get rid of bad luck. You take a handful of salt and toss over your shoulder.
Yeah.
Yep, classic.
Yeah, though I did want to ask though, do you guys think if the Slit Mouthed Woman existed, do you think she'd have any effect on an American that doesn't speak a lick of Japanese?
I mean, it is possible. It is possible that.
I mean, it's pretty much a coin toss at this point, because even though that they might not understand what she is saying, the most that she would still get out of an American is still yes or no, even if they don't realize it, because that is like what your mind zones in on when you don't know a certain language that the other person is speaking, and you are trying to sound like you know or understand.
Yeah. Plus,
this guy's gonna go back to his hotel. She's following him. Hey Johnson, who's the girl? I don't know who this COVID patient is. She's been following me since I ran across her.
Yeah. Plus, you also got to consider that with the with the world of the supernatural, is that you don't really know whether or not these beings just know that one language. They could know other languages that.
Or she has a Japanese to English book because she knows there's a lot of American travelers.
Well,
now, here's the
that
thing.
is possible.
Now,
I want to see that.
I don't think that's really much of a problem, because the Slit Mouthed Woman is still native to Japan, even though that there is a movie called Slit Mouthed Woman in LA. That's just an American interpretation.
Wasn't that just Constantine? Was that just a Constantine episode?
No. That was actually a movie, Slit Mouthed Woman in LA.
That is
clearly the one to rival the greatness of Jason Takes Manhattan.
The difference is that she doesn't kick a boombox, and that makes it infuriating.
Why not? Why not? So every iconic film has Jason kicking a boombox.
Yes, always. But that actually brings up the fact of one of the interesting parts about the Slit Mouthed Woman, is that in terms of film adaptations, there isn't really much of them.
Well, there's also a hentai. I'm not sure if that counts as a film.
It counts as media.
Yeah, technically it does. But
here's the thing. I have seen that there are certain adaptations of the Slit Mouthed Woman. There's even like a Slit Mouthed Woman 0, if I remember correctly. But I think those movies are like direct to DVD at best.
yeah, and I've mentioned before in our previous attempt at recording this video that there was a 1996 short film that was directed by Teruyoshi Ishii, who was best known for working on tokusatsu shows like Gridman, Ultraman Tiga, Dyna, and Cosmos. Unfortunately,
Which, honestly, we should be watching instead of this film.
yeah, we really should be, but unfortunately, I ain't been able to find that yet. But that goes into our film that we're going to be looking at today, Carve the Slit Mouthed Woman, which was directed by Koji Shirashi. And
not carve the slit mouthed woman as in you're going to carve the slit mouthed woman. It's carved tagline slit mouthed woman.
yeah. Now, Koji is a very fascinating director because he did a lot of adaptations of other urban legends than just the Slit Mouthed Woman. We were bringing up Teke Teke. He made a duology of those films, both released in 2009. And from what I've heard, the first Teke Teke film is actually pretty good. But
it's also incredibly short from the sounds of it, about 45 minutes, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
But, I think the shortness kind of checks out because these are legends, and it's kind of hard to flesh out a legend more than at least an hour and 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, unless you make it like an anthology, like a creep show type of anthology.
Yeah,
or a
like
mockumentary
in a way, kind of like a Saturday morning cartoon or a show.
I wouldn't go that far. I'd say more like a creep show type of situation.
Or Tales from the Crypt.
Or Tales from the Crypt, exactly, where each episode just like focuses on a Japanese urban legend, which, I mean, that was the case with a lot of shows back in the 60s. Probably the most notable being Gegege no Kitaro, which focused on a lot of Japanese urban legends and yokai.
What about ghost stories?
Ghost stories
like that
as well.
deleted episode.
Yeah, ghost stories as well. Even
to our fellow Americans out there, the dub version of Ghost Stories is not what the original Ghost Stories is. Just to clarify that.
We don't talk
but it's
about
far more hilarious.
Yes,
it's true. It's far better in that part. But if you want like an actual ghost story, you probably want the sub version.
Yeah.
But if you want hilarity, you want the dub.
Yeah. I choose not the dub, thank you. But
how dare you say Sippy's a voice actor? How dare you say that to him?
Hey,
everybody has their opinions on dub and sub. I'm not gonna get into that.
Hey,
you can watch whatever you want to watch.
Hey, I enjoy me some good dubs. Good dubs.
Yeah, and you know what? Sippy's right.
Wasn't a good dub.
It was a glorious dub.
Oh yes, yeah, it was a masterpiece, the best dub.
Yeah, but you know what? Sippy's right. We should be allowed to watch what we want. You know, if you want to watch the 8-foot-tall woman hentai, you should be allowed to watch it.
Some people might judge you still,
yes.
But by all means, go ahead.
Dan, Sippy, I would never judge you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I, on the other hand, will judge, but that's because I'm an asshole.
Look, I know, Sippy, I know you have a body pillow with the 8-foot-tall woman. It's an incredibly long body pillow, but I know you have it.
It helps me sleep at night, goddammit!
Yep. We roll up, looks like two mattresses sewn together.
Okay, but before we get off topic, let's continue back with our feature presentation, if you will. Sippy, I'll let you do what you got to do.
What were they thinking?
Yeah.
I think they were thinking this was some kind of movie, but they weren't sure.
Okay, so here's the thing. You remember how I said that it being an urban legend, I wouldn't have minded if it was like a anthology or like a short film. Well, this is a prime example as to why I would have preferred that over this garbage. So basically, the Slit Mouthed Woman is a very complicated onryo in this. I mean,
and it also has the Japanese mistranslating themselves.
Aim for my neck? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, if you guys haven't guessed by now, we did not like this at all.
So basically, as a plot point in the story, her signature phrase, "Watashi kire," is actually mispronounced, mistranslated as "Watashi." Oh my god. It, basically, instead of saying, "Am I pretty?" she says, "Aim for my neck." Or "Cut me."
Yeah, and the main premise of it is that there are a lot of kids being abducted by the Slit Mouthed Woman, and a lot of it happens to be based around mothers. So our main character, who is strangely enough played by Eriko Sato, who you may know as Cutie Honey herself from the 2004 Hideaki Anno adaptation of Cutie Honey, and she is trying.
Didn't you say she was also in one of the Gamera films?
Yes, she was also in Gamera 2 Advent of Legion.
Okay, that's awesome. That's why I probably know her more from.
Like, I know her from the Hideaki Anno adaptation, but she is a good actress. But god damn it, she's given almost nothing to work with here. And also, her character is extremely unlikable throughout the film. Her whole story is that she's trying to figure out why these kids are being abducted, and it all leads to the fact that that mothers, especially abusive ones, are being possessed by the Slit-Mouthed Woman and kind of turn into her. So it kind of works kind of like a symbiote where it goes from one body to another after the host is destroyed, which is not at all how the
Slit-Mouthed Woman works.
Now, concept-wise, it's a neat concept, but why the abuse of mothers?
That's
I
a
don't
big
understand
thing.
that.
Yeah, like
Now, before we go, I do want to say the first 10 minutes of the film sets it up very nicely. It gets you very interested in the film. It's a nice build-up to the Slit-Mouthed Woman, making her
They
come off as
sucker
very
punched
powerful.
us. They really sucker punched us.
Yeah,
like the whole
yeah. You
like
hear her thinking, "Oh man, she's like an eldritch, like godlike in this. That is cool. I'm excited to see where they take this." And then like abusive mothers.
Yeah, like the first 10 minutes are excellent. And I will say this too. The music I think is also really good, composed by Gen Wano and Chika Fujino. Apologies if I mispronounce those. But I really like the very dark lullaby feel to the score. And maybe it's just because I'm a sucker for those type of music, but I think it really works in context of the Slit-Mouthed Woman. And also, the actress who plays the Slit-Mouthed Woman herself does an amazing job with her physical acting.
Yeah, she's the best character in the whole show, which is ironic. She's the one killing the kids.
Yeah, yeah, because I really like her blank face, and like one of the moments which I really wish they would have saved for later in the film is when her mask is removed and you see her full slit mouth, and she just like opens her gaping slit jaw, and it's a really creepy ass moment.
It looks really good. I would give the movie props for that.
Yeah, the makeup is excellent.
I'd say the series in this movie clearly doesn't have a big budget. They went all out on her design, and I'm really happy they did.
Yeah, and admittedly, as weird as the decision was for this, I also kind of like the more elder-looking version of the Slit-Mouthed Woman that we get in the movie, like the more wrinkled-up version.
I call her Pickle Rick.
Yeah, Pickle Rick. But what I like about that is that it goes back to the idea that this is an Onryo that's been around for many decades and many centuries. So
and then they ruined it.
Yeah, and then they ruined it.
They just set up the monster having been around since like a couple decades.
And then they ruined that too, because they have an older guy explain to his grandkid that, in my day we had the Slit-Mouthed Woman legend too.
It's strangely inconsistent, and it doesn't help that the film does not really know what it wants to do with its premise.
It's very inconsistent how the Slit-Mouthed Woman works too.
So, going back to the idea of the abusive mother angle, so they try to make the Slit-Mouthed Woman an allegory for that, which, okay, wrong yokai to do. There are plenty of other yokais I think that are better suited for that.
Like they put a woman, but no one kind of wants to use her after the porn thing.
Yeah, which she would have been a perfect fit for this movie, given the story.
She would have been a perfect fit for other things too.
But you know what?
Right,
A
but
better setting for the Slit Mouthed Woman would be like I could probably overlook the fact that maybe the yokai was around for probably over a decade, but what if the Slit Mouthed Woman was back then in life a vain model of sorts, like someone
yeah,
who was known for her looks, and then one tragic accident just dashed all of that away. And
Kind of like
then,
how a lot
as
of
an
people depict
Onryo, a
Bloody
vengeful
Mary.
spirit, she goes around just cutting up fashion models or just anybody in general.
yeah, and you could even bring up like even some yakuza angles because there's there have been plenty of stories how yakuza handle certain targets, shall we say.
Ooh, now that would have been cool if they Yakuza members end up being found dead, being killed by a slit mouthed woman. You follow two stories of detectives and Yakuza members trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the spirit itself could probably stalk one of the Yakuza members one by one, especially those that were probably involved in her murder.
Or
Yeah,
even better, she stalks their children. Then keeps on going up from there.
yeah,
Yeah.
potentially. Like, I think for me, this film should have been an allegory for beauty, and
That's
in a
kind of what a lot of people do with Bloody Mary. They should have done something like that.
yeah, exactly. That would work perfectly for the slit mouthed woman. But here's the thing: the movie tries to make her again thematic towards abusive mothers, but even then, it doesn't really work because half the mothers that the slit mouthed woman chooses aren't even abusive. So even then, it fails in what message it's trying to convey.
And now here's the thing about the phrase "watashi wa kirei." Now, the mistranslation that they use in the in the movie is that they mishear it as "watashi wo kirei." Wo being an article for doing something, like cutting them.
Right.
Watashi wa being the article for a state of being. So watashi wa kirei is I am beautiful, whereas watashi o kirei is to cut them. And this is where the Japanese language is very confusing sometimes, so with
Yeah.
how it's structured, because certain words can have different meanings
Yeah.
depending on the structure of the sentence. And
Yeah.
that's where the articles are very important. And honestly, it
Yeah,
can't be that hard to miss.
Yeah.
But isn't a big example of this like the letter 4? Number 4. Sorry, and
Not
and
exactly.
Japanese
Not
everything?
exactly. I mean, for kire, it could be like to be beautiful or to cut. For that, yes, that would be the case. But the article is where the difference lies. The true difference, I mean.
Right.
Because that completely derails the whole line of what the movie would try to convey, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah,
It
and like
derails the entire plot and turns it over its head in such a stupid manner, and it just pisses me off so much.
yeah.
Yeah, also, another big issue I had is they kind of just forced a lot of the dialogue. One thing I remember is, well, first we didn't introduce the male lead of this movie. Ace, who's the actor for that?
Haruhiko Kato is his name. I don't really know much of him as an actor, but I mean, he does an okay job. He's obviously trying his best as well. But again, he's just given crap to work with, and he ends up sounding very monotone throughout the film too.
And
But
not
one
to
scene that
mention
really,
that his role is just the convenient family member who has a
yeah.
relation to the said Onryo.
Which feels
What?
very forced in and completely unnecessary.
But one scene that really got me was when he and the lead girl went to the house of the last possessed person, the last person that the slit-mouthed woman possessed, and saw the kids there. And she ran off. He asked what's wrong. She instantly went on saying, "Well, I was an abusive mother and all that." And I couldn't help but say, "Okay, you just met this guy. How about we not tell him about your personal life?"
Yeah, that was a really weird choice, just like to throw that out of the blue. And I get it, you wanna you want to make it where she's trying to have a redemption story here. You want to have her like try to like better her, like the idea is that she's trying to better herself after like screwing up with her own daughter, and that's not a bad arc to have. It's just, again, it doesn't really go anywhere, and
Wrong yokai.
yeah, and a wrong yokai as well. It especially doesn't help for what we get later on with the ending of the movie, which we'll go into that part later. Like, she doesn't, like, is given any time to really develop as a character. She's just kind of, again, like, Eriko is just kind of a passenger throughout this film, unless she needs to be involved and throw this unnecessary amount of backstory. Or at least it wouldn't be unnecessary if the movie focused and utilized her more as a lead versus throwing this other character who has connection to the Slit Mouthed Woman.
Yeah. Also, they really do not make any of these abusive mothers sympathetic in this film.
No.
They actually make it look like they have some kind of disorder where it makes it look like they have some kind of personality disorder.
Yeah, like they come
Especially
Mhm.
the origin of the Slit Mouthed Woman in this movie, where it just comes off as like just spontaneous.
Like she's possessed or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They never explain it.
Yeah, it's a very weird choice. And again, if you want to go with the backstory that this is like based around the Slit Mouthed Woman, since the feudal era, fine. But again, I've already said the movie doesn't make it clear if that's the case or not, so it just feels out of the blue.
You know what would be a cool way to do this? Is if the Slit Mouthed Woman is a legion-like figure and all the urban legends based around her are true to an extent, but they're of different people that kind of merge into the spirit of the Slit Mouthed Woman.
Right.
Like the Candyman.
Right.
The Candyman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, the movie kind of feels like it's trying to go for that, but instead of just
Doesn't explain it.
It doesn't explain it. That's one
Yeah,
problem.
now you can't say a horror movie doesn't need to explain everything to kind of keep the mystery, but this is something you need to explain.
Yeah, because there's a certain amount between when leaving something in mystery and then there's just lazy writing. This unfortunately leans more to the latter of those two.
They were trying to find a last-minute MacGuffin.
Yeah, and you mentioned also about the mothers presented in the movie. They're also very portrayed as very like basically exaggerated stereotypes, like something you'd see in like an 80s slasher movie where you have all these very generic trope characters. And here it's very much the same way. There's no relatability with any of these characters. There's no sense of understanding with them. They're just there for the sake of being evil characters and to get possessed by the Slit Mouthed Woman. And it also feels very distasteful when your film is trying to discuss a very serious subject matter.
Now, here's the thing. I wouldn't mind it so much with the Jason films because we already know how stupidly entertaining those are. So the stereotypes don't mean that much to you, aside from just, watching these characters get killed off.
Yeah, at least
But
with the
in
Jason
this one,
at least with the Jason movies, some of them are self-aware and they just have fun with that premise.
but this one is trying to be 100% serious about the source content.
Yeah.
Though, wouldn't it have been amazing if she did put one kid into a sleeping bag and started beating him against the tree?
I would start laughing
Okay,
for some reason.
okay.
I mean, as morbid as that sounds.
And then I'd say this is the best film ever.
Yeah, I was about to
5
say
stars.
I would give it 5 stars at that point.
And no one would and I want them to be witnesses too, because none of them would rescue the kid. They'd be too busy laughing. Yeah. Now, there is another issue I wanted to explain. You know the big, scary scissors she uses in Legends?
Yeah.
The kind of decoration in this film. From my scene, she kicks people more.
Yeah, I was about to say, she uses her heels a lot in this movie.
She doesn't, like, do a kung fu kick or anything like that. She pushes someone over just like, Take
Just
that.
kicks them while they're down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Say hello to my new heels.
And it's not even like in a badass way, like say like and this is a really random example, but like in Cult of Chucky, where like Chucky possesses somebody and uses their heels to stomp on a guy's face. Like it's not like like a cool scene like that. No, it's just like It's like there's like kicking them while they're down. It's like Frieza does
It,
with Goku.
it doesn't even look like it hurts them. It looks like,
No,
stop
no,
it.
it doesn't.
Stop. No, stop.
I'll harm you.
She only uses the scissors on the guy. I swear to God.
Yeah. And even then, like, of course, it leads to the scene in the movie where he ends up using the scissors on her as well. And Zippy, you want to like explain that whole scene? Because
oh my! First thing, before he uses the scissors, she uses the scissors and cuts off his feet. And apparently, this didn't affect him too badly. I thought he would have passed out or something by losing his feet in the worst way
getting
possible.
cut at the Achilles heel is a pretty big deal.
yeah, I will admit, like the way the scene.
No,
Like the way the scene plays that out, where she cuts the Achilles tendon, I will give it credit. That was pretty disturbing to look at, because that is a very painful spot to get hurt. And I definitely
but apparently it didn't hurt. Apparently, it didn't hurt him so much. Honestly,
yeah, that's the only part that didn't work. When I first saw it, I was like, ooh. And then when he started getting up a little bit, I was like, wait, what was the fucking?
Yeah,
point
no,
there?
that is BS. That is complete bullshit.
Yeah, that
I
was
mean,
bullshit.
I've seen Pet Cemetery. I've seen how Gage cuts Judd's Achilles tendon off. He is screwed.
Yeah.
and then at the end, the son, who somehow is still conscious, don't know how, finally got the scissors and did what his mother apparently told him that he'd misunderstood the first time. Aim for the neck. He used the scissors and cut off her head. Took quite a bit, I assume, because that probably take a bit to do with scissors.
Yeah, of course.
And then it led to the funniest scene where the son's dead down there, holding the head of the woman that was possessed by the Slit Mouthed Woman, as the elderly version of Slit Mouthed Woman just stands and watches. And then I kind of wanted to say, yeah, but I wanted like a live audience laughing at that scene, like the end of a sitcom.
Oh, they can laugh. All I feel is rage.
Yeah.
By the way, if you hear some cracking in the background, that's me tearing apart a coat hanger, an old coat hanger.
He went for the neck. He went for the neck.
Yeah.
And I will go for your balls.
And even then, like the way the scene presents itself, like they want to present it in a way where you feel bad for this guy having to do this. But the thing is, we don't care at this point. And we don't care about any of these characters. So trying to implement this scene just comes across as fucking pretentious as all hell. And at worst, it's completely laughable. Then the whole thing off, which was the scene that really pissed me off, was with our main lead finally reuniting with her, with her daughter that she had issues with. You're thinking, okay, happy ending. And then she's possessed by the Slit Mouthed Woman and grabs up the scissors and
is about to stab her daughter.
Yeah, which
also, why did her dad leave? Why did this girl's dad leave her alone with the abusive mother?
Why would he leave her there with her? And secondly, the whole arc that you had with Eriko trying to redeem herself and make peace with her daughter, it's completely thrown out of the fucking window just for the sake of a cheap scare at the end, and it's fucking stupid.
Just like the movie.
Yeah, exactly like the movie.
You know what? I really hope that if we ever get a chance to watch Carve 2, that will be far better than this garbage.
Yeah, I have heard that the second Carve movie is far better, and I do hope it is.
And to you, the listener, that if you're wondering how bad this movie is, it has no copyright to it. You can watch it free on YouTube.
Yeah, it's completely free. That's how we were able to watch it. And again, I will say this though. I do hope that Koji Shirashi continues with his filmmaking, because he seems like a very passionate guy. I've seen a couple of interviews with him. He does care about horror, and he does want to make the best he can possibly make it. I just think maybe this just wasn't, either he just got the bad script and he had to work with it. There's no behind the scenes on this movie, so I can't speak on his behalf. But I do hope that he gets some better material to work with over time. Again, I've heard good things about the Teke Teke film, and I've heard that the film Norari the Curse is a very good movie. So I do hope that I do hope that he continues getting better projects. And I especially think the Slit Mouthed Woman herself as a character deserves a lot better than what we
Yeah,
got in this.
it's really upsetting because, before Sadako, Kayako, Tomie, all the Japanese female horror characters we know, it was a Slit Mouthed Woman.
Yeah.
She was before all of them, and there's just really not a lot of media based around her.
Yeah, and
When there is, it's often more comedic or porn.
Yeah, and yeah, so I think at this point we can pretty much just giving our final thoughts on this. In that, I think I speak for all of us when we say that this is a movie that has on paper it sounds like it has a lot of potential, but when you look into it further and watching the film itself, you realize how many mistakes were made on this. From
The biggest one was when she got the slit mouth.
yeah, like
That was. Remember how we were praising the design of the Slit Mouthed Woman? Well, they didn't put that much effort into how she got it.
Yeah, the explanation is stupid, but that pretty much sums up the whole movie. It's a film that wants to be more than what it actually is, and it ends up unfortunately just underutilizing a very well-known character in a film that shouldn't even be based around her, and it just wastes a lot of potential from a writing perspective, for acting perspective, and in bringing more people to check out a well-known character of Japanese mythology and urban legends. And I think that's a damn shame that we couldn't get something better, from this movie. But I hope for the best for the future, and hope that the sequel will hopefully be far better.
Yeah,
I
and
can
to
only
be
say
fair,
this.
go ahead.
I can only
go ahead,
say
Sippy.
this is that this movie had probably a lot riding on its shoulders, but in the end, it just left a lot more to be desired,
Agreed.
because a lot of people were most likely disappointed in this characterization and interpretation of the Slit Mouthed Woman, and I included want to see the Slit Mouthed Woman in a better adaptation and done justice with her themes.
Yeah, she absolutely deserves it. But again, we have plenty of time to see more adaptations in the future, and there's plenty of other newer Japanese directors who might one day make the proper adaptation that we deserve, or at least until.
And I will say this: at least she was given a more respectful adaptation than the 8-foot tall woman.
Yeah, at least there are some forms of media that present her in a much better light.
Non-sexual light, which is also the name of our Christian rock band.
I did not know that, and I will keep that in mind.
Oh, all right, I didn't tell you guys. We're starting a Christian rock band called Non-Sexual Light.
I am not part of this. I do not condone any of these actions.
Band practice is on Tuesday. I'll see you guys there.
You ain't saying shit with me.
But you're playing the xylophone.
I told you I will only do it if I'm on the acoustic.
And I told you never.
Then fuck off. All right, but that being said, I think we made a really good time here, guys. So yeah, that would end today's episode. So next time we are going to be venturing back into America in classic alien territory, but not the way you would expect it. And yes, anal probing is involved with it.
Oh, I was about to make that joke.
I had to beat you to that one.
I was about to tell the audience. I'm about to tell them, buckle up and pull down your pants. It's about to get probing.
I am probably going to bring Eric Cartman into this.
Yes.
As you should.
As you should.
Well, that's all for this episode. My name is SippyVA, and joining me is
Ace Marrok.
And William, the slit-mouthed wearing trench coat hiding in Alley's Kearney. Don't quote me on that.
And this has been Cryptic Collectors.